What seemed impossible happened. Want to discover what's behind one of the largest air offensives in history? Stay with us. What you are about to see contains sensitive footage. It is presented strictly for documentary purposes.
Remember, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
A few hours after Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a massive airstrike involving around 200 aircraft and long-range drones aggressively targeting strategic sites inside Iranian territory, the world waited tensely for Tehran's response. The response, however, did not take long to arrive. That very night, Israel's air defense systems worked like never before in history. From various regions in Iran, hundreds of drones and missiles were launched simultaneously toward Israeli territory, triggering one of the largest interception operations ever recorded. The Iranian Supreme Leader, Ali Khamenei, declared that the battle has begun. Tel Aviv, long seen as a powerful city, became one of the main focuses of the bombardment. What shocked people was not only the number of projectiles launched, but the precision of the attacks. Radars were overloaded, and the alert sirens sounded non-stop, forcing civilians to quickly seek shelter in underground bunkers. What happened that day shook Israel profoundly and sent a message to the world. The conflict had reached a new level. With the support of the United States and Western countries, Israel carried out an air offensive on several points inside Iranian territory. Targets included nuclear facilities, IRGC commanders such as Hossein Salami and Mohammad Bagheri, as well as scientists from Iran's nuclear program, along with strategic command centers and military bases. We know Israel and Iran have had rivalries throughout history, but this conflict started with one of the largest air offensives launched by Israel, which claimed it was motivated by suspicion that Tehran accelerated its nuclear weapons program, despite no evidence proving such claims. The International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, has not confirmed the existence of a nuclear weapons program in Iran. Military analysts and journalists described Israel's action as a unilateral move without support from the international community. Tehran asserted it had suffered an aggression and responded because it needed to defend its sovereignty. Iran launched more than 150 ballistic missiles. Including Shahab-3 and Sejil models, plus approximately 100 drones targeting military sites inside Israel. The cities of Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, the Negev base, Ashdod, and Be'er Sheva were the main targets. Information shows that the famous defense system, the Iron Dome, managed to intercept several projectiles. However, many others succeeded in penetrating the system and precisely hit their targets, causing significant damage to important facilities, including a military command center and a major industrial zone in Tel Aviv. Columns of smoke rose and explosions echoed in industrial areas and civilian neighborhoods, with multiple fire outbreaks and buildings reduced to ashes. Jerusalem was illuminated by projectiles causing continuous explosions, evidencing the intensity of the aerial confrontations. It became clear that the intensity and continuity of the attacks showed that the Iron Dome could not fully repel the strikes, as the defense system was overwhelmed. Nonetheless, the system was able to neutralize most of the projectiles. According to the Israeli government, between 80% and 85% of the launched missiles were successfully intercepted. Israel stated that it suffered one of the largest aerial offensives against its territory in history. To give an idea, the United States and Western countries such as the United Kingdom and France mobilized against the attack, sharing information obtained through satellites and radars. Additionally, the United States, using military bases in the Middle East and defense systems like Patriot, THAAD, destroyers, and fighter jets, helped intercept Iranian missiles launched toward Israel. Israel activated its entire air defense system during the attack due to the great scale of the Iranian offensive, including the Iron Dome, David's Sling, and the Arrow system. Despite official statements from the Israeli government and armed forces, the reliability of its defense system was called into question. The Iranian military presented an opposing version, claiming that several ballistic missiles successfully hit strategic targets. To support this claim, Tehran released satellite images and videos of the damage caused to key points in the city. There are signs of destruction in several locations in Israel, but it is not clear whether the damage was caused by impacts or by debris from intercepted missiles. What was discovered is that, faced with a coordinated, intense attack on multiple fronts, gaps were revealed in Israel's famous air defense system, showing that, even with advanced technology, no system is immune to being overwhelmed. The United Nations Security Council is preparing to hold an emergency session. In this scenario, the President of the United States called an urgent meeting with top military leaders and intelligence agencies. The United States is asking Israel to avoid a disproportionate response. However, President Donald Trump demanded the unconditional surrender of Iran, stating that he knows exactly where Ali Khamenei is hiding, but that he does not intend to eliminate him for now, and warned that U.S. patience was running out. Additionally, Trump urged the people of Tehran to evacuate immediately. Trump also affirmed that the U.S. did not directly participate in the Iranian attack, but had prior knowledge of the Israeli offensive and were ready to act if U.S. civilians or troops were attacked. The U.S. reinforced its military presence in the region, deploying aircraft carriers, USS Nimitz, USS Carl Vinson, destroyers, and fighter jets positioned to support Israel and protect American bases. An important statement from the U.S. president said,
Remember, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple.
highlighting a key point in this whole story. He made it clear that any attempt by Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon will be eliminated by the United States. On the other hand, Russia and China have advocated for an immediate ceasefire in the recent Middle East conflicts, seeking to avoid an escalation that could destabilize the region and harm their geopolitical interests. This stance aims to preserve strategic alliances and contain the spread of violence. Meanwhile, Gulf nations such as Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates expressed deep concern about the risk of the conflict expanding and compromising regional stability and the security of global oil supplies. Therefore, they call for dialogue and moderation to prevent the crisis from turning into a wider war. What stood out most in these attacks is the clear evidence that Iran possesses the capability to conduct long-range strikes, combining precision and high volume. Tehran masters advanced saturation tactics, simultaneously deploying swarms of drones, ballistic missiles, and cruise missiles, designed to overwhelm even the most advanced defense systems. For Israel, in light of the attacks suffered, it is clear that the threat is not limited to Iran, as it can also face similar attacks coming from Hezbollah, Lebanon, Iraq, and Syria, mainly linked to militias aligned with Tehran, all connected in a massive, coordinated attack against a single target, Israel. Iran made it clear that it will not accept attacks without responding. Israel faces a critical dilemma: intensify its military response or attempt to redirect the conflict toward diplomacy. The likely response will be an intensification of the attacks, since its Western ally, the United States, has already requested that Israel avoid a disproportionate response, but all of this is still not the end. It is known that after the Iranian attacks, Israel carried out a new offensive with more than 50 fighter jets, focusing on nuclear, missile, and elite military installations around Tehran. Sources say the operation hit more than 80 targets, including a nuclear centrifuge production site and several weapons factories. Israel stated that the objective was to weaken Iran's nuclear program and missile capability, while the Israeli Military Authority declared it had achieved air supremacy over Tehran. Now, you know what's behind this historic air offensive, and why this conflict could still collapse at any moment, with unpredictable impacts for the entire region and the world. You watched through to the end. Only real ones do that. Show some love with a like.